Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard were all day 3 quarterbacks. Does that mean that their careers will never get off the ground? No. And we're going to tell you why. We have some data and have some examples of day 3 quarterbacks succeeding after being drafted. This and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an offensive draft analyst over with Bleach Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our every Dayers. We got a fun one, guys. We're talking about, hey, listen, Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard were all selected on day 3 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Does that mean that they can't have success? No. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks and compare success of some day 3 quarterbacks in recent history and in previous history, as well as breaking down and grading the NFC North teams, NFL Draft, and the NFC West. But before we can get into any and all of that, today's episode, and this episode has been brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Keith, when you hear Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers all being day 3 picks, people say, and don't get me wrong, there's validity to the argument of, well, yeah, if you're a first or second round quarterback, that teams believe a little bit in you more, right? Like the draft capital they spent on you. And yes, we've seen first round picks get more and more opportunities, right? Mac Jones bombed in New England. He got a job, backing up Trevor Lawrence, and got a chance to showcase himself in Jacksonville in 2024. Justin Fields just signed a new contract. Went from the Bears to the Steelers, got a starting opportunity there. Now he's slated to be the QB1 for the new Aaron Glenn-led, New York Jets. Keith, we've seen it. Like, these guys get opportunities, right? Sam Darnold, first-round pick, top 10 pick, has been on multiple teams. Just got his contract, right, with the Seattle Seahawks. We've seen this story play out before. Baker Mayfield, another one, went from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams, and now he's the main man in Tampa. It's not, don't get me wrong, I get it. First round guys, second round guys have more of a longer leash in how the NFL views them. But Keith, I'm gonna throw some names out there to you: Tom Brady, Matt Hasselbeck, Mark Brunell, Mark Bolger, Trent Green, Brad Johnson, Mark Rippon, all guys drafted after on day 3 of the draft for their respective drafts. Some of these guys were drafted rounds 8 and 9 back when they were still doing that long of a draft. But Brad Johnson, Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl as a starter. Mark Rippon, Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl as a starter. Matt Hasselbeck made the Super Bowl as a starter. He didn't win. He made all these guys made everybody I just named made multiple Pro Bowls as well, Keith. All those guys made multiple Pro Bowls. And so, of course, Tom Brady is the complete unicorn. 10-time Super Bowl starter, 7 Super Bowl wins, 15 Pro Bowls, bunch of all pros. But Keith, even going back, Dak Prescott, 4th round. Yep. And Kirk Cousins was 4th round, right? Like, and both of these guys,
Purdy, 7th round.
Mr. Irrelevant, like the last guy in the draft, right? Mr. Irrelevant, and he's about to get paid. He's been he's been to 1 Super Bowl, been to the NFC Championship game, been to the playoffs almost every year that he's been the starter. So it's not over for Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, or Shedeur Sanders. These guys still have a lot of career left, and they can become impact players for their teams.
Yeah, DP, it's a matter of, and I firmly believe this, that and this goes to the conversation I think goes back to it. And I was rubbing a lot of people wrong, right? And I kept trying to compare Jalen Miro to Anthony Richardson, Will Howard to Will Levis. Like, and it's simply the fact of, like, it's difficult for me to believe that the NFL knows what they're doing, because they constantly overdraft these guys. Right, they overdraft quarterbacks, like in quarterbacks that probably have 2nd, 3rd round grades. They still take them in the 1st round, and then they're unsuccessful. And then there's quarterbacks that fall that wind up being successful. So when are we going to actually start hitting on the actual quarterbacks? And so that's what makes this conversation so it adds so many different elements of it, right? And it almost, you have to have conviction as a talent evaluator to say, you know what, I know what I see on film. That's just what I'm going with, right? And in
Yeah.
scheme situations matter so much for these players. So you look at the success of like comparing the success of day 3 quarterbacks. I think a lot of these guys have opportunity and potential to be really good because and you tell me, DP, but if you're talking about narrative driven, Will Howard, after winning the championship, comes back again. He starts as a 3rd round quarterback, right? And what I'm saying is that, like, the conversation around him is like, oh, they're like, let's pay attention to Will Howard, right? And it builds momentum and things like that to where people automatically place him here. Because if you watch the film, DP, Will Levis didn't do anything that warranted being a top 5 pick. Like, not one thing
Yeah.
that warranted being a top 5, like not one single iota of being a top 5 pick, but he was placed there, right? And so it's sometimes that stuff is just momentum driven and hype driven, and I think that's what we see time and time. And another weird thing is what I noticed with the NFL and in almost with the draft community, we don't like to see that there's back-to-back good quarterback classes, right? Like if we have like a loaded QB class, then the next year we just automatically go to this one not that good. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's never like back-to-back classes are like, oh, this is a fun quarterback class. It's like the one is good, and then the next one we just say, yep, this one gonna be bad. It's like why can't they have back-to-back quarterback classes that's good?
Yeah, the narrative they always look ahead and be like, okay, like next year it's kind of like that thing on, like, they talk about the favorite guy on the NFL roster is the backup QB because that's the guy who hasn't done anything yet. It's the same thing with the draft. The favorite QB class is the next one, right? It's the next class because, like, you know, we had 2 back-to-back high-profile classes from the Bryce Young class, and last year we had 6 in the top 15 and top 12 and everything like that. We only got 2 in the first round this year, but we got 13 drafted overall. Well, last year I don't remember how many got drafted in that class. I think Spencer Rattler might have been the last one, you know, and it was like from round 1 to round like 5.
Yeah,
it was 4 rounds without a QB. So yeah, I think that's it's just the nature of it, Keith. I think with Shedeur and Quinn, I think with Shedeur, we talked about it a couple times this week. To me, the battle, the Browns just went and said we're not picking up the 5th-year option of Kenny Pickett. That tells me all I need to know right there. You will not be on this roster after this season, right? Joe Flacco might decide to say, you know what, it's been fun. I got some more money. I'm going home to chill with my family after the year, right? Like, you know, he's close to 40 years old. He might just say, I'm packing it in after this. That's why, for me, the situation at hand is really Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. You need to find out early who's going to be the guy going into next season. I need to know. I need those guys, and I get it. Like, you want to tell the fan base we're trying to compete. That's fine. But when you have 2 first-round picks in the class that people universally look at, like you talk, I think you said it yesterday on yesterday's pod, that class is expected to be far more talented than this class and might have more guys drafted inside the top 100 picks if everything shakes out the way people expect them to, which it rarely ever does. But if it happens, then you got probably 5-6 quarterbacks in the top 100 next year. If that's the case, Keith, like, yeah, if you got 2 first-round picks, you need to know, is my QB of the future on the roster right now, or do I need to draft them in round 1 of the 2026 NFL draft? So the Cleveland Browns, to me, I'm not trying to hear no. I think the report was, oh, Kenny Pickett's supposed to be the starter. Yeah, you can miss me with it. I'm not trying to do it. No, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't pick up your 5th-year option. You might get 2 games. All right, whatever. You might get 2 games, and then I'll pull a plug, man. I need to see if it's Dillon Gabriel or if it's Shedeur Sanders. I'm not again, I keep going back to what the Falcons did. They let Marcus Mariota play all that year, and I know why. Is because he was on that Peyton Manning show, the QB show, and you couldn't bench him when you should have benched him because it wouldn't have been a compelling storyline to let Desmond Ridder take over because the camera's not on Desmond Ridder. You let him play into the point where Desmond Ridder had 4 games. He looked solid. You got hope. You're like, man, this might work out. You said, I'm not going to attack quarterback in the next draft. And then it all went to hell the next year, Keith. And you're like, well, you probably should have given him more games to really see what it looks like when teams start preparing for him for 6, 7, 8 weeks Cleveland, don't do that. Let these young quarterbacks go. Give them majority of the season, whoever's the guy you want to start, and let them run. And then at the end of the season, you assess everything and go forward. I think that these guys, Dylan Gabriel included, I think all these guys have a chance to still be successful because, again, Kirk Cousins has made a lot of money being a 4th-round pick in the draft. Dak Prescott's made a lot of money and been to the playoffs multiple times. Kirk Cousins as well. There's a lot of case study that it's not just the 1st and 2nd round that you can find a quarterback.
Yep. No, I agree with that. With DP, let's do this, man. We had a really good conversation about day 3 quarterbacks, and I hope that our listeners are saying, you know what, we're keeping our eyes open for those day 3 guys that could emerge, because I feel really good about saying I guarantee you there are 3 of them that's going to be day 3 quarterbacks that's going to end up starting for NFL franchise. But DP, let's do this, man. Grading the NFC North. Let's go through it. The Packers, the Bears, right? We have to talk about the Vikings, the Detroit Lions. Let's get into the NFC North coming up next.
There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. So save up to 60% off buying tickets, last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more events near you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Grading the NFC North, the Kings of the North, the Detroit Lions. Keith, round 1, they select Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State. In round 2, they selected Tate Ratledge, offensive guard from Georgia. Round 3, Isaac Tesla, not Tesla, guys, not Elon Musk, Tesla, 2 A's, wide receiver from Arkansas. At pick 171, they selected Miles Frazier, offensive guard from LSU. 196, Ahmad Hassanin, edge rusher from Boise State. 230, Dan Jackson, the safety from Georgia. And then Dominique Lovett at 244, wide receiver out of Georgia. I give them a B overall, Keith. And it's simply because they did what we did not want them to do, Keith. We talked about the fact that they needed to get edge and not make sure that they did not put all the eggs back in Aiden Hutchinson's basket. Well, Keith, they did it again. So now he's coming off of an injury. With the edge rushers that were still available, right? We literally saw the Panthers get 2 on day 2. Like they got Nick Skouerton and Princely. And I'm glad they took Tate Ratledge. He fits that team to a T. Love Tyleik Williams, right? I was a year early, Keith. I think it was the 2020. It was last year's draft. I thought Tyleik was going to enter the draft, and I called my shot that summer and said he was going to be a first-round pick. I was just a year early. But I still didn't agree with the pick there because I don't think D tackle was that big of a need or a bigger need than edge. So I give him a B.
Yeah, DP, I gotta go C. I have to go see DP. My favorite pick is the Tate Ratledge situation. After that, I think there was a lot of reaches, to be completely honest. Maybe not even reaches, and I understand that I'm looking at it, they didn't have any 4th-round picks, right? And they went, obviously, 1st round, Tyleik Williams. I don't know if I'd have drafted Tyleik that high because I think that there were comparable talent that went in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, right? When you think about, I think the Kansas City Chiefs got Omar Norman a lot in the 2nd round, right? Like they're comparable talent for the interior defensive line. Even I think Darius Alexander went later. I want to believe he was like a 3rd-ish round pick, I believe.
Donovan Azaroku went to the Dallas Cowboys with pick 44.
Yeah. So I think Tyleik is a solid player. I just did not expect him to go in the 1st round to the Detroit Lions. I agree with you that they needed edge rusher. So I give it.
If this was the Steelers, I would say because the Steelers had a big need at D tackle. Yep. You needed the edge, and you said no. I'll wait till around like 6. I'm like, okay. So you give him a C. I give him a B. I give him a B. Keith. Next up, we have the team that finished. I believe they finished right behind them was the Minnesota Vikings. They They didn't have many picks. They had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 5 picks overall, but they only had 2 within the first like 3 rounds, and that was pick 24 at 38. They went or pick 24. They selected Donovan Jackson. Their next pick, they took Ty Felton, wide receiver out of Maryland, speedy guy. They took Tyron, guy that you shouted out, that you talked about, Tyron Ingram Dawkins, defensive tackle from Georgia. They took Kobe King, linebacker from Penn State, and then Gavin Bartholomew, tight end from Pitt. I give him. I love the Donovan Jackson get. I love that.
I like the Ty Felton get. I think him as a wide receiver 3. Yeah, with a wide receiver 3 with Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison. Oh yeah, he's going to eat.
They needed that. They needed that bad. They needed a wide receiver 3. So I actually like their first 3 picks because I like the Tyron Ingram Dawkins pick as well. And I'm like, Brian Flores is going to find some way to let this dude wreak some havoc on that defensive line. But they didn't have a lot of picks. They didn't have a lot of swings, at the pinata. I give them a C+ overall. Give them a C+. They did the best they could with the capital they had. I kind of almost felt like they should have been the ones instead of the Rams. They should have been the ones to trade out with the Falcons, get that extra second, and then be able to address more needs. But overall, solid draft. C+ for me.
Yeah, I agree. C+. I like I said, the Donovan Jackson, Ty Felton combination, the Ingram Dawkins getting him in the 5th round when I probably thought he was more of a 4th-ish, late 3rd type of guy. It's like you said, you're talking about 5 picks, right? And you had a 1st, a 3rd, and then you got a 5 and 2 6s. Like, it's not a lot there. There's just not a lot there. So I thought it was a C+.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers. They had a lot of picks, unlike their division foe in Minnesota. They had a lot of them, Keith. First round, they took Matthew Golden, our guy out of Texas. And pick 54, day 2, they selected Anthony Belton, offensive tackle from North Carolina State. At pick 87, they select Savion Williams, wide receiver from TCU. 124, they picked Barron Sorrell, edge rusher from Texas. They went double down with more edge rusher and kind of off-ball backer athletes. Colin Oliver from Oklahoma State. They got Warren Brinson at 198, defensive tackle from Georgia. Micah Robinson at 237, cornerback, and then John Williams, offensive guard at 250. Keith, I gave them a C. Okay. I give the Packers a C. I love the pick of Matthew Golden. That's our guy. We love the pick of Matthew Golden. I like Barron Sorrell. Belton felt a little high to me. But I think it just, if you can figure out, maybe he could become next Mekhi Becton, play guard and be a physical guard for you, how we've seen Mekhi Becton, but he went to Stoutland University over in Philadelphia with Jeff Stoutland, and that's what kind of got him comfortable playing that spot. That was kind of high. The Savion Williams one was also high because I was just like, okay, all right, because he's not a refined wide receiver right now, and for him to go he went like top 90. So I was like, man, there were just some better wide receivers and guys that still had size at the receiver spot that could be that prototypical X. And truthfully, they've been tied to Jaden Higgins the whole draft cycle because they needed an X. I don't know. I give him a C. The Matthew Golden was going to be interesting because it's like they have him, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson probably won't be back after the ACL. Mm-hmm. I don't really know what they're going to do with the receiver room because they don't have like a true X receiver, like an actual X in this room. I give him a C.
I think they wanted to go for a wide receiver 1, right? And I think they believed that Matthew Golden could potentially be that. It looked like their theme DP was whatever they needed, get 2, right? They're trying to address wide receiver. They got 2 of them with Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. They needed edge rusher. They got 2 of them with Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver. And then offensive lineman, they drafted 2 of them. So I look at it, I give him a B. I give him a B. I think it's a solid draft. I agree with you with the Anthony Belton situation. Savion Williams is going to be the wild card because I think it's a matter of how you use him, right? Will they use him as that wildcat, quarterback? Will he do different things, jet motion? Because they can use him like that because they have so many other wide receivers. So I think that's going to be interesting. And then Barron Sorrell, everybody who's been listening to this podcast know he's one of my favorite prospects. And then Colin Oliver, coming off of the injury, I think he's going to be a solid player. I think he's going to make some plays. I think he's a decent player. So I give it a B.
All right, let's close this thing out, Keith, and let's go to the Chicago Bears, the Bears, Keith, at number 10, man. They took our guy Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. They doubled down with more help more pass catching help for Caleb Williams. At pick 39, Luther Burton III, wide receiver out of Missouri. At pick 56, Ozzie Trapilo, offensive tackle for Boston College. Pick 62, they had a lot of picks. Pick 62, Shamar Turner, defensive tackle, edge, D lineman from Texas A&M. Ruben Hippolyte, the second linebacker, I believe, out of Rutgers, if I remember correctly. They took a swing on the talented toolsy corner, Zav Frazier, at pick 169. They got Luke Newman, guard, at 195, and then they got my guy. He got hurt this year, didn't have the greatest combine, but Kyle Monunga at 233. Keith, I ended up giving the Bears an A- overall. I actually love what they did, especially the first 1, 2, 3, like 4 to 5 picks, like from Loveland to Shamar Turner. I love that run. And I think the same thing we talked about last segment, right? Yesterday's show when it came on the Panthers. The Panthers said, hey, we're going to give you weapons. We're going to make sure we do our job. The Bears said, I love the self-awareness. We screwed Justin Fields all the way up. We didn't give him help. We didn't protect him. They said, we're not. And we watched them do kind of the same thing offensive line-wise to Caleb in year one. They revamped their offensive line. They got another tackle. I'm wondering, with Ozzie playing more right tackle, Keith, we might see Darnell Wright go back to left like he did the year before in 2022 at Tennessee. He might go back to playing the left tackle spot and everything. So they got themselves 2 young tackles, Luther Burton III and Loveland. And then Shamar Turner, I think, is going to be that X factor for their defensive line because you could play him at edge, defensive tackle. He's athletic. He's strong. He's physical. I love what they did, man. I give him an A-.
Yep, I go A2. I think they killed it. I think they did a good job with getting offensive help, right? Like you said, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line. I think all 3 of those guys are starters right away. Shamar Turner is another big body guy to go with Gervon Dexter, and because it was that draft that remember they drafted 2 defensive linemen. There's Gervon Dexter, and then I'm the other guy name is slipping me right at the moment, but that's gonna be 3 guys that's athletic that can move up and down that defensive line. So I give it an A2, but DP, let's do this, man. We have to head out west. Go out west, young man. We're going with the NFC West, and we're going to talk about those drafts coming up next.
Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your pair controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. Already have a console? That's fine. A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel while allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you guys plug in. Head over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our every dayer. The NFC West. Let's start with those Los Angeles Rams. They traded out of round 1. I believe they got an extra first for next year. Their first pick was in the 2nd round. They got Terrence Ferguson, tight end out of Oregon. Round 3, they selected Josiah Stewart, another sawed-off, bulky, strong, low center of gravity edge rusher from Michigan. Round 4, pick 15, they selected Jarquez Hunter, running back out of Auburn. Round 5, they selected defensive tackle Ty Hamilton from Ohio State. Round 5, they selected linebacker from Ole Miss, Chris Paul Jr. And then round 7, they selected Kanata Mumfield, wide receiver out of Pitt. Keith, I give them a B. I give them a B minus. Well, I'll go B because you got an extra first for next year. They did some swindling. I give them a B. I think Terrence Ferguson can come in and be that pass catching tight end in the middle of the field for them. And everything. He's not going to block a whole ton. That's not his strength, but catching the ball, getting open, being the athlete, that's where he lives. And I think Sean McVay would be able to get the ball to him. Josiah Stewart, just more depth on their edges
Yep.
behind Jared Verse and Byron Young. Getting Jarquez Hunter. I think this is the thing. Kyron Williams has been very good, but he's been battling fumbles. You can't put the ball on the floor. If you keep doing that, they're going to keep drafting somebody to replace you. I think Jarquez Hunter could be a big competition in that room. I give him a B. Give him a B.
Yeah, I'll give him a B minus. I thought it was solid, and obviously because they traded back, you don't see a first round pick, right? But T. Ferg, I think he's gonna be a key piece. I like Terrence Ferguson a lot, and I'm not surprised that he went to a scheme like the Los Angeles Rams with a lot of play action, crossers, things like that. He's gonna thrive in that situation, right? Matching them up with linebackers and big safeties and things like that. And then I agree with you, the Jarquez Hunter, and I like the Ty Hamilton situation. I think that's both good for the Los Angeles Rams. So I go B.
Yeah, I give him a B. Next up, Keith, after the Rams, we got to go to the Seahawks. Let's check out, see what the Seahawks were able to do. They took Gray Zabel, guard, out of North Dakota State in round 1. Nick Ebenwari, hopefully to be their version of Kyle Hamilton. In the top of the second round, they got Elijah Arroyo, tight end, out of Miami. At pick 50, 92, they selected Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. They had a ton of picks. 142, Riley Mills, defensive tackle, Notre Dame. They got some more speed at wide receiver with Torrey Horton out of Colorado State at 166. Robbie Oots, tight end from Alabama at 175. They got a guard, Bryce Cabledew at 192. Damian Martinez, adding another running back to the running back room that they already have at 223. Mason Richmond, offensive tackle at 234. And then Ricky White, Ricky White the third, wide receiver out of UNLV at 238. Keith, I give them actually because they had a lot of swings. I give them a B as well. I do love their first four. The first 4 or 5 of the first 6. I love the Torrey Horton value, but Zabel and Ebenwari, Elijah Arroyo, and then getting Jalen Milroe to come and sit behind Sam Darnold. I'm actually gonna bump it up. I give him a B plus. I'm giving him a B plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B. I like the Elijah Arroyo situation. I think to me that was the most appropriate value. I'm split from my evaluation with Nick Ebenwari and Gray Zabel, right? Just as far as if I would have drafted them that high. I think they will be starters, right? And I think they will be starters and will be valuable pieces, but I just don't know if I would have went that high. Kind of similar to what we talked about with the Saints, right? With like Kelvin Banks and things like that. But I think it was a solid draft. Like you said, they had a lot of swings, at it, and I think they're coming away with starters. I just don't know if I'd have drafted them that high. But I think they'll be contributors and key players. So I'm going to go B minus.
All right. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers. And Keith, they had a plan. The 49ers had a plan during the 2025 NFL draft, and it was to get better in the trenches. They selected Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia in round 1. Alfred Collins, defensive tackle from Texas in round 2. Nick Martin, linebacker from Oklahoma State in round 3. Upton Stout, cornerback, nickel corner from Western Kentucky with their comp pick in round 3. CJ West, another defensive tackle that can stop the run, D tackle from Indiana. They got Jordan Watkins, the versatile wide receiver from Ole Miss. Jordan James, running back from Oregon in round 5 with the 9th pick. Marquise Siegel, safety from Kansas State. Curtis Rorick, quarterback from Indiana in round 7. Connor Colby, guard from Iowa in round 7, and then Junior Burgeon, wide receiver from Montana, with their last compensatory pick in round 7. They had a ton of picks. Keith, what grade are you giving these San Francisco 49ers?
I'm gonna have to go C plus, DP. I think good. I don't think great. I think a lot of it is hinging upon the best of what these guys can be, especially at the front, right? With Mykel Williams and Alfred Collins. I didn't expect Alfred Collins to be a top 50 pick. I liked Alfred Collins as a football player. I liked him in the 3rd, 4th round. A guy that'd be a part of rotation. But when you draft him top 50, you expected him to be the key guy, right, in the interior defensive line and be able to play a lot. Mykel Williams, we know there's a lot of potential there. You got to get it out of him. Like the first 4 or 5 picks, I think the most appropriate, like one where I could kind of see was the Nick Martin one, right? Fast, athletic, fluid. You lost Dre Greenlaw and Campbell last year. He kind of left the team. So he was down to, I believe. Man, I'm blanking on my guy from TCU, the linebacker from TCU, but you didn't have a lot of depth there. overall. So the Nick Martin one, I kind of get it, drafted him inside the top 100.
Yeah, kid, I actually walked away looking at their draft, and I like the players like that, especially how they're going to use them. The Alfred Collins, CJ West duo, because they lost, they believe, Javon Hargrave on the interior defensive line. I think they might have lost another DT as well. But I think the steal of this class to me is Jordan James out of Oregon for them.
No, me too.
I think Jordan James
he's going to come in and do something. Yep.
He's going to be, I think they traded away Jordan Mason, and they replaced Jordan with Jordan. And they went and got another guy that my comp for him is Devonta Freeman when he was with the Atlanta Falcons. Short, stout, physical, feisty runner, really good vision, one cut guy that can work on gap schemes and pin pull, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I love what they did with that selection, Keith. So I'm actually gonna give them a B+. I think what they wanted to do is get physical in the trenches. We know Michael's floor is going to be high because of his run defense. Alfred Collins, space-eating defensive tackle. So you think about Nick Martin pairing up with Fred Warner, him and CJ with Alfred Collins and CJ West eating up blocks. If those guys are starting alongside each other, he's going to let those linebackers flow and keep them clean. I like what they did. And Curtis Ward, we'll see how everything goes. He could potentially end up being the primary backup behind Brock Purdy because he fits that Kyle Shanahan type of scheme.
Yep, I agree 100%.
So next up, Keith, we got to close this thing out with the Arizona Cardinals. At pick 16, they selected Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Then they got, Will Johnson, our CB1, came out late in the process, probably, a week or so before the draft, a couple of days, that he was flagged for a potential long-term knee injury. So they got him at 47. They got Jordan Birch, the South Carolina transfer to Oregon, physically gifted, toolsy defensive end with versatility. Got him at 78. Cody Simon, linebacker from Ohio State at 115. They went back to Ohio State. Denzel Burke, or cornerback, right, out of Ohio State at 174. Hayden Connor, guard at 211. And then Keaton Crawford, another athletic safety to put in that really good safety room that they have for more depth and special team help at 225. Keith, what grade do you have for the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, DP, I actually like what the Arizona Cardinals did. And I'll tell you this, they obviously wanted to get better defensively. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their 7 picks were defense. So it was clear they wanted to get better defensively. Like you said, Will Johnson, our CB1 medical situation, he went in round 2. They snatched him up. Walter Nolan, we both believe that he could have battled for defensive tackle. One, they got him at pick 16. Jordan Birch, versatile edge, interior defensive line hybrid. Cody Simon, I liked a lot. So first 4 picks, I all approve. I think this is a B+ for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, B+ for me as well. I think Cody Simon you could have had him probably a little bit early because he's more of a run stopping linebacker. The functional athleticism as like a cover guy isn't the best, but I think Denzel Burke, you took a swing on a guy that a lot of people were high on coming off of the last 2 summers. And you know that he's gifted. He has all the tools and ability. It's just like, what do we have to do to get you to playing to the level of your physical traits? Will Johnson, getting him at 47. Listen, if the knee stays fine for 7 to 8 years, you got yourself probably the biggest steal in the draft. A guy that could be their true CB1. And I think Walter Nolan, man, like absolute game record that they're going to love having on their D line. And with that Jordan Birch and Darius Robinson they drafted last year, they brought Calais Campbell back home. I forgot they brought Calais Campbell back home. So you're talking about putting those 2 young guys who games can mirror his to an extent and learn from the wily veteran who's done it all, seen it all, played in the biggest of games. He can play that. He's played the 3 tech, the 4-eye, and the 5. He can really teach these guys how to attack these different type of linemen that they're going to see in the NFL. I love the potential of Jordan Birch. Yeah, I give him a B+ as well, Keith. I think the Cardinals did a good job. I wanted to see them add more speed at wide receiver, though.
Yeah,
I wanted
wide
to see them
receiver.
add an explosive guy to pair with Marvin Harrison. They got I'm blanking on the kid from Stanford name right now, but the receiver but he's more of another route running possession style. Greg Dortch is the shifty punt returning slot. I just would have liked to see an explosive guy to play that Z spot, right? Like I would have loved to seen that. But nonetheless, I mean, they could have went Matthew Golden round 1, but because he was falling, but they got Walter Nolan, so I'm not mad at him at all, Keith.
Well, DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever you get the latest episode, wherever it is available. Guys, coming on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about Jalen Milroe. Is Jalen Milroe a threat to Sam Darnold? Well, I think so. I think he should be. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.